Hey everyone, Mr. Hall here. Welcome to Advisory. Before we get started, I got to send an email to Mrs. Wing. I had a performance review recently that I was a little confused about, and so I was going to see if I could get some clarity from her. Just a second. Subject, yo.
Hey Wing, I was wondering why you gave me a bad review because I know I did my best on it and I know you probably just don't like me. So, yeah, on God, you got to fix it cuz my mom is going to ground my for real for real. By the way, could we have recess again? I miss it. We should also have dress up like a dinosaur day next homecoming week because I have an inflatable T-Rex costume that is straight fire. Anywhoosies, let me know about that review. I'm low-key scared. My mom is going to freak out on me. Ooh, okay, bye.
Okay, glad that's out of the way. Anyway, today we're going to talk about writing professionally. There's going to be many times in your school career or your actual career that you're going to have to write a professional email to someone, and it's very different from how we normally communicate to our friends and family and things like that. So this video is going to go over how to write professionally, and maybe we can clean up that email that I just wrote to Miss Wing before I send it in the process. First of all, there's many purposes of professional writing. It could be in a job situation, or it could be in education, either here or when you're in college and writing to your professors. It could be a request to meet. It could be you explaining a concept to them very succinctly and quickly. It could be an evidence-based persuasive argument or request. Or, as is often the case with teachers and professors, it could be clarifying a task or presenting a question. Now, there are lots of reasons why you want to change up how you talk in a professional setting versus how you talk and write in a casual setting. The first is to show your teacher, professor, boss, coworkers, whoever you're writing to, that you are more than capable for whatever task, assignment, or job they have you doing. The second is to show respect for both yourself and of your school or place of business, whatever the context is that you may be writing it in. Professional writing also conveys that you are a good and willing communicator, which will result in people taking you more seriously, and that'll help you get things done quicker. And finally, being a good professional communicator can open up a ton of opportunities for you in the future. This is going to be huge, especially in the professional world. If someone is going to be good at their job and you're going to be good at the job too, but this person is better at communicating than you are, they're probably going to get the job. So writing professionally can open up better opportunities for you in the future. To talk about professional writing, we're going to start with talking about how to write a proper email in a professional setting. The first is you have to have a professional email address. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but my email address that I'm sending this from is not that professional. banjoboy58@hotmail.com sounds like an email address I may have come up with whenever I was in middle school, but it's not going to work for a professional setting. You want to make sure that the subject line of your email is focused on what you actually want to get across. You should start every email by extending a professional greeting. There should just be one, maybe two body paragraphs that get your points across as efficiently as possible. And then at the end, some sort of signature or sign off, possibly with action items for the person receiving the email to do next. There are some do's and don'ts when it comes to professional emails. Do be aware of your audience. Whether it's a professor, a teacher, a future boss, a current boss, you want to make sure that you know who you are writing to and that you adjust your words and your tone accordingly. Speaking of, make sure that you consider the tone of your email. This is especially important in a professional setting because you don't want to come across as combative or rude. You want to make sure that the person receiving the email is going to receive the message that you're sending without any extra attitude or emotion on top of it. Keep your email quick, focused, and concise. Whoever you're sending your email to probably has a lot of emails in their inbox, and so making sure that your message is concise and efficient is going to help them get that message sooner. You don't want to try to talk about a ton of things in one email, and you want to make sure that what you do talk about is very focused and concise. Of course, you want to check your grammar, and you can look to Grammarly or other things like that. You can have a friend proofread it, whatever you do, make sure that you correct your grammar. This is a huge pet peeve of mine. As a former English teacher, it's very difficult for me to read an email and take someone seriously if their grammar is so bad. Most importantly, make sure you keep the tone of your email professional and respectful. Regardless of who you're emailing, you want to make sure that how you email them is polite and respectful, because otherwise they may not want to return your email or respond to what you're trying to say. These are the don'ts. Don't talk like you do to friends in texts or DMs. All right, no emojis, no text shorthand, all caps, or overly familiar language. Next, don't write it when you're too emotional about the subject. Oftentimes in school and oftentimes in a professional setting even, it's easy to feel upset or keyed up about something that you're writing about or that you feel passionate about. Best to take a minute, take a breath, make sure your emotions come down before writing the email so that you don't say anything that comes across as too rude or offensive. Don't try to include too much information. Like I said before, whoever is receiving the email has probably received a ton of emails that day, so keep your message short, sweet, and to the point. And if you do have more information that you need to share with them, maybe it's best to use email to set up a time to meet with them to talk about it further. And then lastly, whatever you do, don't send it without proofreading. I've got in trouble too many times from just writing, and then sending it without even looking at what I've written, both in assignments and in emails. So make sure that you look at your grammar, make sure that everything is exactly how you want it to sound, and then send it. Let's take another look at that email I was going to send Mrs. Wing to see if we can apply anything of what we learned today to that email. Yeah, upon second thought, this one's looking pretty rough. So first, I want to make sure that I'm sending it from a professional email address. That could be my school address or my work address, or another one that I've created that is more professional than the one that I have here. So I'm going to send it from my Dallas ISD account. I also want to make sure that the subject line is clear and to the point of what I want to discuss. So instead of saying yo, maybe I can say performance review questions. The next mechanic of the email that I want to look at is my greeting. Now you notice all I said was, hey Wing. That's probably not going to cut it. That's not going to start off the email on the foot that I want to start it off on. So instead of hey Wing, I will say something like, dear Mrs. Wing. Or if dear sounds a little too old school, then I can say just a very simple, hello, Miss Wing. I've got my body paragraph here that needs some serious work, and we'll look at that in a minute. But I also want to make sure that I have a professional sign-off. For this, I like to usually say something like best, as in my best. And then I personally like to just sign off with my first initial and last name because I work in a setting where my last name is used most often. Okay, let's look at this body paragraph. You can definitely tell that I've got some grammar issues. My capitalization is way off. I want to make sure I capitalize what I have. I didn't want to use text language, and so I want to make sure that I clean that up. But more importantly than that, I think the tone of this email is way off. If I'm trying to talk to my superior, which is Miss Wing, and I want to get something done, I have to be much more respectful and much less emotional about what I'm talking about. You can definitely tell that I was upset about getting this bad review. And so instead of writing out of that emotion of being upset, I want to make sure that I get to the crux of what I'm actually trying to say, which is that I got a performance review that I didn't like, and I would like to revisit it. Emails are supposed to be short, sweet, and to the point, and so I want to make sure that I first take out anything that doesn't have to do with my performance review, which includes this about recess, probably a little bit about the dress up like a dinosaur day. We can get rid of all the stuff about my mom gonna ground me and other texting language. Instead, I might say something like this.
Hello, Mrs. Wing. I received my performance review and I noticed a few areas in which I could certainly grow as a professional. Is there a time within the next week that you would be available to discuss this review as well as how to improve my performance on future evaluations? I look forward to meeting with you. Best, J. Hall.
Now this is a professional email, folks. It's short and sweet and to the point. It is directly about my focused question, which is all about performance review. It doesn't have any fluff. It has no texting language or emojis. It has correct grammar because I corrected it as I went, and I went back and made sure everything was on the up and up, and my computer helped me fix things as well, you may have noticed. I was aware of my audience, which is my boss, and so I better be respectful. I considered my tone. I fixed it a little bit to where it was not nearly so combative or confrontational. I kept it quick, focused, and concise. I checked my grammar, and I kept it as professional and respectful as I could be. Miss Wing is going to look at this email and say, you know what, Mr. Hall may have gotten a bad performance review, but I know that he is on his way up because he is clearly wanting to improve his performance, and I would love to meet with him to help him out with that. I want you to think about the things that we've talked about today whenever it comes to writing professional emails in a school setting. In a minute, you're going to write an email to a teacher, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to ask for on the next slides. But make sure you keep in mind these points that we've talked about when you write that email. That's all for me today. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Be good to yourself and others, and I'll see you real soon.